The quirky, lovable, go-anywhere Suzuki VanVan 200 has made its comeback for 2026. Yes, the bike that was once dismissed as a toy and later celebrated as a cult classic has been reborn. And here's the twist. It's not just a revival for nostalgia's sake. Suzuki has taken the VanVan's playful spirit and given it a serious upgrade for the modern era. Stick with me until the end, because what Suzuki has hidden in this little machine might just make the 2026 VanVan the most surprising small bike release of the year. The VanVan has always had a special place in motorcycle culture. Originally launched in the 1970s, it was designed as a lightweight trail machine with fat balloon tires, simple mechanics, and a personality that stood out from the crowd. Over the years, it became a cult favorite among riders who valued fun and character over raw performance. The wide tires made it float over sand, mud, and grass, while the lightweight made it approachable for new riders and a joy for veterans who just wanted something different. For decades, riders called it the Smile Machine because every ride left you grinning. Fast forward to 2026, and Suzuki has brought back that same spirit but with a modern twist. The first thing you'll notice is the styling. The new VanVan 200 looks unmistakably like a VanVan, with its squat stance, oversized tires, and minimalist bodywork. But now it has sharper lines, LED lighting, and a more refined fit and finish. The tank retains its rounded retro charm, while the seat remains long and flat, perfect for solo cruising or carrying a passenger. The bike looks playful yet purposeful, like a retro scrambler that doesn't take itself too seriously. At its heart, the 2026 VanVan 200 is powered by a refined, fuel-injected, air-cooled single-cylinder engine. Yes, Suzuki kept it air-cooled, and that's a good thing. Simple, reliable, and fits the VanVan's character perfectly. Displacement remains at 200 cc, but thanks to a new lightweight piston, improved cooling fins, and updated electronics, it now produces around 18 horsepower and 16 Newton-meters of torque. Modest, absolutely, but VanVan fans know that outright power was never the point. The magic of this bike is in its delivery. Twist the throttle, and the engine hums with smoothness and charm, giving just enough pep for urban traffic and enough grunt to climb sandy trails without breaking a sweat. One of the biggest updates lies in the chassis. The frame has been strengthened with new materials, reducing flex while shaving off weight. The suspension has also been updated with more travel and better damping, making the VanVan feel more confident on uneven roads. Of course, the star of the show is still the tires. Those fat, oversized balloon tires are back, and they're even better than before. At 180-meter wide in the rear and 130-meter up front, they look almost comical. But they give the VanVan its legendary stability. Sand, gravel, grass, and even loose mud. The VanVan floats over terrain that would unsettle a standard street bike. When it comes to technology, Suzuki took a minimalist approach. The 2026 VanVan has a compact digital dash with basic readouts: speed, fuel, trip, and a gear indicator. There's no fancy TFT, no complicated electronics, because that's not what this bike is about. However, Suzuki did add a few smart touches: fuel injection for efficiency, LED lights for visibility, and even a USB-C charging port for your phone or GPS. In keeping with its quirky character, the VanVan doesn't try to compete with high-tech machines. It stays true to its roots while adding just enough convenience for the modern rider. Comfort is another area where the VanVan has always shined, and the new model doesn't disappoint. The long, flat seat is one of the most comfortable in the small bike segment, with enough padding for extended rides. The riding position is upright and relaxed, making it perfect for both beginners and experienced riders looking for a stress-free experience. The low seat height, just 700 mm, means almost anyone can flat-foot it, boosting confidence and accessibility. Add to that the light weight of just 128 kilograms wet, and you've got a motorcycle that feels approachable, friendly, and easy to handle in any situation. Range has also improved. With Suzuki's updates, the VanVan 200 now sips fuel at an average of 35 kilometers per liter. Combine that with its 10-liter fuel tank, and you're looking at a range of roughly 350 kilometers. That's impressive for a bike this small, and it reinforces the VanVan's character as a practical little adventurer. Now, let's get to the surprise. Suzuki didn't just bring back the VanVan 200 as a one-trick pony. For 2026, they're releasing a special VanVan 200 Explorer Edition. This version comes equipped with racks, knobby dual-purpose tires, a skid plate, and even soft panniers designed specifically for the VanVan. That's right. Suzuki has transformed the VanVan into a mini adventure bike. Imagine taking this quirky little machine on dirt trails, camping trips, or even cross-country journeys. It may not have the power of a big adventure bike, but it has the character and charm to make every ride unforgettable. The Explorer Edition is more than just an accessory package. It's Suzuki's way of acknowledging how fans have always used the VanVan. Riders for decades strapped camping gear to the back, rode it across beaches, and treated it as the ultimate fun companion. Now, Suzuki is embracing that culture by offering a factory-ready adventure version straight off the showroom floor. So, who is the 2026 VanVan 200 for? Honestly, almost everyone. New riders will love it for its low seat height, forgiving power, and approachable handling. City commuters will enjoy its nimbleness, easy parking, and fantastic fuel economy. Off-road beginners will appreciate how those balloon tires make sand and gravel feel less intimidating. And experienced riders will love it as a second bike. A fun machine for short rides, weekend adventures, or simply cruising to the beach. It's the kind of bike that doesn't intimidate, it invites you in. The VanVan 200 has never been about numbers. It's not about horsepower, speed, or specs on paper. It's about the joy of riding, the feeling of cruising down a coastal road, exploring a dirt path, or just hopping on the bike for a trip to the cafe. It's about smiles per mile, not bragging rights. And in 2026, that philosophy remains intact. Suzuki has managed to bring back the VanVan without losing its soul. They gave it just enough updates to feel fresh. Better suspension, refined engine, LED lighting, and an adventure-ready variant, while keeping the playful, quirky spirit alive. In a world where motorcycles are becoming more complicated, more expensive, and sometimes more intimidating, the VanVan 200 is a reminder of why we fell in love with riding in the first place. So here's the real question. Will the 2026 Suzuki VanVan 200 remain a cult favorite? Or will it finally break into the mainstream and earn the love of a wider audience? That's for riders like us to decide. This has been a deep dive into the all-new 2026 Suzuki VanVan 200, a legend reborn for riders who want fun, freedom, and a little bit of quirk in their garage. Thanks for joining me on this journey, and as always, this is Acer Rider signing off. Until next time, ride light, ride free, and never stop smiling.